Welcome back, everybody. Today's video is going to be about who I believe to be one of the, if not the most broken hero in 7.34D, at least in pubs. And you guys may be thinking, if you're in the 1K bracket, the 2K bracket, maybe even the 3-digit MMR bracket, that we've been telling you this for years, BSJ. Well, now it's your guys' time to shine, because what hero am I talking about? I'm talking about offlane Wraith King. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty about what exactly makes this hero busted, I'm going to tell you guys one thing. I have absolutely no idea how to beat this hero. I've lost this hero every single time I've played against it. And if we go to my recent game history, I lost the first game this patch because I didn't know what I was doing, and then I've won 7 games in a row. And trust me, Wraith King is no high-skill hero. And trust me, I'm not even playing that well, and I'm just winning. Now, let's go ahead and get into the last couple replays to talk about what I've learned along the way and exactly why this hero feels so hard to beat. What does Wraith King offlane conceptually do? Before we get into the replays, let's be clear, guys. I think one of the main things that can go wrong when you pick offlane Wraith King is that you are going to be a second carry. You will be buying a Radiance, and you will end the game potentially with the highest net worth and the most CS on your team. And this is something that people will often not be too big of a fan of when they see that happening live. So what I'm going to encourage you guys to do is at the start of the game to let people know that you will be buying a Radiance and you will be farming, but you've been winning with this build, or any version of reassuring message that you can give, like, I'm trying to win, I believe in this hero, BSJ said this hero's broken. Maybe don't use that one because I don't know how people feel about me in your pubs. But that's just something that I think will help you guys a lot going into these games. So what exactly makes Wraith King so broken? We're going to go ahead and go step by step through the game of what to look out for, his weak points, his strong points, what your role in the game is, so you guys know exactly what to do. So I want to talk to you guys about Wraith King's laning stage. Not too much of a replay here, but what I want to show you guys is I'm against a Disruptor Alk lane. In the next replay, I'm going to be against a Grimstroke CK lane. These are generally the most nightmarish lanes for Wraith King. The carry has a stun, the support has some slow stun or catch, and they're looking to kill you level 1 and 2. So what's really important to note is that Wraith King's weakest stage in the game by a large margin is levels 1, 2, and 3. Once he gets to level 4, where he has 2 points in skeletons, 1 point in stun, and 1 point in crit to secure CS, his lane feels pretty solid. But up until that point, he just doesn't really do much to the opponent, so they can kind of do whatever they want to you. So look to really defensively aggro, keep the lane near your tower as much as possible, and don't engage unless you are summoning skeletons and stunning. That's pretty much all you need to know about the lane. And once you get done with the laning stage, the first 5 or 6 minutes or so, you have now entered farm mode to get your Radiance. So what that means is if you need to go to your own jungle, if you need to retreat to Ancients, if you need to like take the tower and then farm this area, it doesn't matter what it is. The biggest thing is don't use your skeletons to fight people at this stage of the game, especially if you're behind, because those skeletons are your ticket to becoming the #1 net worth hero in the game later. And since the skeletons give you skeleton charges and your hero doesn't really have farming speed except for the skeletons, what that means is you need to get the ball rolling, the snowball rolling of skeletons feeding into skeletons, feeding into skeletons. So your big power spike is actually level 10, where you have the plus 25% duration, minus 25% cooldown, because now the skeletons are 100% uptime, actually more than 100% uptime, and you can just spam the shit out of these things. So my skill build, just to break down the early game, we talked about 1 point in stun, 2 points Vampiric Spirit, and 1 point crit. A lot of people take Vampiric Spirit level 1 so that they can rack up some skeletons, and then level 2 have that power spike with skeletons plus stun. If I'm against a tough lane or a lane where I think the carry can be bullied a little bit, I'll take the stun at level 1 because I want to be stronger at level 1 and I'm less concerned about level 2 if I've already established dominance. If I'm trying to avoid fighting them level 1, I'll take Vampiric Spirit and go for that. It's 1, 2, 1, 3 points Vampiric Spirit. Then because it's not 100% uptime yet on the spell, we go back for maxed crit, so 1, 3, 4, and then 1, 4, 4. And in terms of talents, we always take the left one at at level 10. We take the left one at 15 if the skeletons are really strong in that game, if they have very little ways of clearing them. We take the same thing at level 20 with the same thing in mind. We take the left one. And then at level 25 with offlane Wraith King, I almost always take the Reincarnation cast Fire Blast. But if you end up having to be a physical damage dealer, you can always take the other one. So when it comes to the 15 and 20 talents, you pretty much take the stun duration and the cleave if you feel like the other two are not good. So if skeletons are good that game, take those, because skeletons are the ticket to this hero being absolutely broken. We'll discuss that even more later. We've broken down the early game. I know you guys may be asking, where are the examples, BSJ? So what happens is this. I used to go blade mail or other such items leading into the Radiance. And I've learned that whether your lane goes well, which means I just don't have to fight them at all, or whether or not my lane goes poorly, which means I have to play super hard for farm and I need to rush the game to get impact, I've found that unless it's a Midas in the next game where my game is atrocious, I just go straight Radiance. This is what Ace was doing at TI, and it's part of what got Game and Gladiators to get second place at TI. And so I just go straight Radiance. Once you have Radiance, you now have impact. Your job, if you're winning, is to run at enemies, or just farm if they're letting you. If you're losing, your job is to put yourself in front of objectives every single time that your ult is available. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to rewind. We're going to see that my team's down here and that the opponent is pushing mid, right? So I am going to put myself in front of this tower and say, I dare you guys to go on me. And they're going to usually go on you if you put yourself in front of a relevant objective. And your exact job in the game is to be bait. And so in this specific game, since they were winning, they have Alk with a lot of kill threat. They have Disruptor Glints to catch people and Puck Coil. So I have a Zeus Void. I kind of have backline supports with the Warlock Phoenix and a Zeus Void. So I looked at my line and was like, my job is one of two things in the game as Wraith King. And this game illustrates number one, which is to be a freaking meat shield for your team. That means putting yourself in front of objectives, making sure you're the one that it gets initiated onto. So the concept behind Wraith King in most games, but including this one especially, is put yourself in danger and build items that really synergize with you thrusting yourself into the opponent lineup. So we're going to get into that. After you go for the Radiance, pretty much always go for a Blink Dagger. Any other item you buy, like Shard or Blade Mail or BKB, is like absolutely necessary. You think you're just freaking useless if you don't buy these items. But the reason why Blink Dagger is so important is it gives you initiation and lets you throw yourself into the opponent if you want to, but it's also your fastest farming item because this hero farms plenty fast with Skellies and Radiance, and it helps you actually against ganks as well, even if they manage to bring you down once, because when you reincarnate, a lot of times you'll be able to just blink away once you respawn, since the reincarnate is longer than the 3-second cooldown of blink. So what you're going to see here is I'm going to get initiated onto, and I'm going to get glimpsed. Now, this is something I didn't even know you could do until like the 5th game of Wraith King that I played, but you can double pressure ultimate to kill yourself. So this is an example where I got glimpsed, I double pushed ulti to kill myself, and instead of getting glimpsed into the enemy team, I'm fine now. Perfectly safe. So this is something that you can do if you're getting glimpsed, if you're getting X-marked, or if you're against a hero with Diffusal and you know they're going to mana burn you over time. You can just have a wand, use the wand, instantly kill yourself so that they don't burn you from mana, preventing your ulti from going off. This is such an underrated part of what makes Wraith King so good now, because there's really no reliable way to kill him twice in like an extra 50% of scenarios, it feels like, because a lot of people have either these dislocation spells or mana burn in order to make sure you die twice. So I would like to remind you guys that we need to identify our role in the game. And we've said that we are a gank tanker. It is our job to get initiated onto. So you're going to see a play where my Void gets ganked, and I'm going to try to help him rather than being the guy that gets ganked. And this is something that you guys cannot forget your job in the game, because I did here. Do not forget your job in the game. As you see, he dies, then I die, and since he's already dead, there's no threat of me like getting focused forever. And notice how long it takes them to kill me with 5 heroes, but we need that to punish them. If your teammates are already dead, then your hero's effectively useless anyways. So don't get baited helping your team like this. So in this example, we finish Roche and we see the enemy and we kind of know they're up here. So make sure that when you know where the enemy is, that you purposely put yourself in a really weird position. Like, I'm going to farm this creep wave, just putting myself in front of the objective again, making sure that if they do go on me, or my team, I'm in the way. You know, I'm like walking down the lane, kind of serving as like a shield for my team over here. And once again, they're going to go on me. I have the blade mail because I knew they had a lot of burst damage, and they were also pretty squishy on heroes like Puck. And now you've done your job, and you can turn the fight in your favor. It's really important to note that I only go Shard if I feel like I absolutely need to for mana burn, or they have no way of dealing with your skeletons. So in this game, they have Alk Acid Spray with Radiance, and Alk also gets Grievel's Greed from my skeletons. So I chose not to go for a Shard at all this game. You can just make sure you conserve your mana, guys. Like, your Shard is not that great. I have people telling me to buy Shard all the time on my stream. Don't get baited. It is 1,400 gold, and there's so many high-impact items on Wraith King at this stage in the game. So in this clip, you're going to see that we're trading buildings. We're going for this tier 2, and the opponent's going for our tier 2. And so after we take their tier 2 with skeletons, which is part of what makes Wraith King so broken, you can just TP in front of them and say, hey, team, help me here. Get them out of here. Don't let them take this tower. Like, it's really hard in 7.34D right now to invade areas. But what's better than invading areas than having a hero with Radiance that thrusts themselves at you and you don't want to kill them? Think about it. So that's what we're going to do here. Another power of Wraith King. We just blink in. We have the Strength Blink because we want to make all these ranged heroes like Puck, Muerta, and Disruptor just feel kind of squishy. So remember, if I think it's my job to thrust myself at them, I've gone Blade Mail so they don't want to focus me now, because they were focusing me when I did. And then I went Strength Blink so that when I do throw myself in there, I'm doing damage, I'm slowing, and I also had bracers at the time that were double value, so I didn't want to sell them. So slot issues can also be a concern. So in this fight, I'm going to throw myself at them. And you can see in this example that I'm actually starting to get kind of focused, right? So what do I always do when this stage of the game happens? I buy an item that prevents them from being able to focus me. And this is where the ticket happens, guys. My favorite item on Wraith King now is Wind Waker. You heard it here, Wind Waker. So you're going to see that they were kind of focusing me in this fight. And then later on in this fight, I'm going to have a Eul's delivered to me. This was honestly pretty greedy to go the Mystic Staff. I should have just had the Eul's first. And when they try to go on me with Puck, I'm going to get pretty low here. And then I can just Eul's and blink away. Be annoying, just kite them, survive as long as you can, spam Strength Blink, spam items like Blade Mail, you'll see Shivas in the next game, Radiance. You are doing so much by Blink Stunning, having Radiance, forcing them to go on you, using your health pool plus your lifesteal to sustain. You can basically just mess with them for the rest of the game. So lastly about this game, you see that Tier 4 neutral items are about the stage in the game where you get this like survivability item like BKB, Shiva's, Wind Waker. The best Tier 4 neutral items are actually the ones that just do damage when you blink in or when you're up in the air or when you're just alive. So the best items are actually, in my opinion, Havoc Hammers first. Second is Stormcrafter because it's kind of like a second Radiance. And then the third is just Spell Prism so you can do the whole blinking, ulting, Radiance, Shiva's thing on a lower cooldown. So those are the best tier 4 neutral items. So you're going to see a little bit of fun with the Wind Waker here. You're just going to see how long it takes them to kill me, even though my team ends up going top and the enemy knows I'm alone. So you're going to see here, they're going to go on me and I Wind Waker away, resetting my position. Then they go on me again after I go on them and I move into them with my Radiance burning, Blink stunning, focus me with Blade Mail. Notice how annoying it is to kill me. They're literally dying as they're killing me. Whether it's to Strength Blink, Radiance, Stormcrafter, Blade Mail. Anything that keeps you alive is going to do the trick, guys. You can get yourself out of Kinetic Field and Puck Coil in this specific game. That's why I like Wind Waker so much. I've gone it against combos. So like if they have like Dawnbreaker plus a stun. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do as Wraith King. Just mess with them. In this particular game, I have had a horrible game. I have pretty much griefed the laning phase because I died to CK Grim a bunch of times. So in these type of games, if your other lanes are losing, then you're just gonna have to like dodge fights at all costs. Tell your team that you are useless and you're just farming. I even went Midas because my lane was so bad. But the most important things about these games is if you don't have Radiance yet and you're having a really bad game, you're useless because you just die. And while you're dying, you don't actually accomplish anything. Don't try to have impact. Commit to the plan, guys. So tell your team you're not going to be able to fight. You're going to see 3 examples of my team taking a massive fight, and I just don't go. That is the key, guys. Tell them you're not going to go. don't go and take towers. This is what makes Wraith King so broken, is that even when he has an absolutely terrible game, he still has map impact, and even if you're useless, your skeletons absolutely are not. Once again, the same thing is happening, guys. My team is fighting mid. I don't have ult. I don't have Radiance. Just don't go and go push a lane, guys. Just don't go. Don't go. Tell your team you are not going. All it takes is you having a Radiance you saw in the previous game at the mid-tier 1 tower and the opponent overextending. It only takes one time. So in this case, they're going high ground. We're getting absolutely dumpstered. I'm respawning. I don't even have Radiance yet in this case. And we managed to take one fight where we catch the CK, we buy back. And I have found that the moment I get Radiance and I'm now allowed to farm the map, the game just ends instantly. It just ends. So if you have a good start, it just ends. If you have a bad start, they need to do that one time and then it's over. So why is Radiance so important for Wraith King? Not only is it good for fights, but it's also good because your skeletons are what make this hero so broken. They farm really fast. They do a ton of damage to heroes now, and they absolutely shred buildings. So what am I trying to say? When you're level 10, you have a 30-second cooldown skeletons, and it takes 16 CS to replenish those. And so if you want to be the absolute most broken version of Wraith King, the requirement is that you have 8 skeletons every 37 seconds, which means I need you to get 16 CS every 37 seconds. The only item that allows Wraith King to do this, that also helps him in fights, is Radiance. It is absolutely essential. There's no other way to do it. Without Radiance, you can't do this job in the game and spam your skeletons. So we're going to fast forward through the game a little bit, as you're going to see that I just use my skeletons, and naturally fights on the map are going to go in our favor because our skeletons are going to clear out areas, they're going to push lanes, and we're just walking around summoning them non-stop. So what you're going to see is another lane push. Nobody wants to gank you because you're a Wraith King. Push out lanes. Walk down areas. Don't even have to fight them at objectives. Look at the farm that we're getting. Look at the net worth differential. We went from being an absolutely useless Wraith King to suddenly we're climbing the ranks. So if the opponent is pushing down a lane like this, we talked about Wraith King being the guy that sits in front of towers. But if you're not all that strong, or you feel like there's this job for you, which is to split push, to not fight them because you don't feel comfortable fighting them because they're winning. So in this case, I just summon skeletons before I go back to base. What's happening while all of this is happening in base? Their tier 2 is dying for free, guys. It is just dying to skeletons. None of our heroes are even there. So what does that make happen? It makes them dive us. It makes them feel rushed. It makes them have to take the fight now. It naturally creates overextensions. And meanwhile, while all of this is happening, they're just losing a tier 2 tower. So you may say this is a coincidence, BSJ. You know, has nothing to do with the fact that you're off-lane Wraith King. Well, I'm going to tell you guys that I've played against Wraith King, and now I've played enough Wraith King to know that this happens almost every single game. The hero naturally creates panic based on how much pressure he applies on the map. So the key is, after you go blink, itemize for the strongest hero on the enemy team. In the other game, I thought it was mainly the point that the heroes that they had were high damage, but squishy, the Puck and the Muerta especially. So I went for the strength blink in order to make it so I was making use of all my slots, but then I was also damaging these ranged heroes when I blinked onto them. But in this case, their strongest hero is CK, who's a strength illusion hero. What that means is that AoE control and attack speed slow, because he's a strength hero, he doesn't build much attack speed, is the best item. So I go for Shivas in this exact case, with the same idea to throw myself at them. So the enemy is barreling down a lane again, as you saw in the top lane, and it is our job once again to be using our skeletons to pressure areas, shove a tower. We don't even have to be there anymore. We can TP back to base and be ready for the fight this time, which we did. And what did the opponent learn from last time? To react to the skeletons. And in this case, since they were trying to kill us bottom, they actually reacted with 3 heroes. They brought Dazzle, you see another TB from Marcy, and the Grimstroke. So this is the enemy's 2 choices when you summon these skeletons. They do so much damage, they either have to go deal with them or they have to fight you right now. So what happens with Wraith King with the Radiance and the Skeletons build is he makes fights always on your terms. And a lot of times, if the opponent's actually playing it properly, no fights happen at all. because they can't afford to let your skeletons just hit towers, so they don't go for trades like this. So what I'm basically saying is you have a hero that flash farms the entire map, capitalizes with one of his skills when he is flash farming the entire map, and he creates pressure on the map without actually being there. So you either have a stalemate or the opponent has to rush every single fight, and you're a strength hero with 2 lives. Are you guys getting the picture? I realize in the fights that it's been difficult to bring them down. We've kind of addressed their strongest hero, the CK, but now the Dazzle's kind of keeping all of his teammates alive. So I realize it's my job to run at the Dazzle. So you can see in the fight what I end up doing here is I run away from my team, don't worry about the CK behind me, and I just run straight at the Dazzle, saying, get out of here, man, get out of here. So what target you choose to remove from the fight, whether that's to separate the fight like this or to be the guy in front that's soaking the damage, that really comes down to what you feel like's going wrong in the fights, but know that either of these things can be your option. I would like to say that I don't think Ags is a very good item on Wraith King in most games. The only time, this is the only game out of the 7 that I've gone Ags, by the way, the only time I think Ags is good is if the opponent has a lot of burst, which in this case they have CK Marcy, and your heroes on your team have high impact spells in the 7 seconds extra that they are alive for. So I have Warlock Golem, I have Mag RP, Faceless Void, Chronosphere. So that extra 7 seconds I consider valuable, and it's also quite likely that the opponents are going to focus my teammates. The idea that I like about Wind Waker so much is it makes it really hard to kill me, but I can also Wind Waker my teammates. So I like Wind Waker as an overall utility item if they don't have this immense amount of burst. I think it is just simply better. But the Ags, in cases like this, just makes it so they really have no win condition to win the fights. So in this last item slot that I have after the Ags, I end up going for a Sheep because I think it's my job to remove the Dazzle entirely from the fight. Like, I'm just making sure Dazzle's disabled and not able to consistently grave people, so I end up going for Sheep. There's games where I've been Weaver or Dazzle, and the offlane Wraith King goes 4th or 5th item, Orchid into Bloodthorn. You just need to make it hard for the opponent to do their jobs. The first few items are all about throwing yourselves at them. Usually the 5th or 6th item is either about killing them or making it so it's incredibly difficult to kill you with a Wind Waker or a Sheep or a Bloodthorn. These are the type of items that I look for. And just remember, if you're alive on this hero, on the map, you're pressuring in fights, you're burning people, it's just absolutely essential to remember that you will do your job if you are alive. I hope you guys liked this video. Let me know what you guys experienced with offlane Wraith King in your pubs. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time.